Hey, what's up?
Hey, you got anything you want to say to Baked while we know he's watching us? Because we know Baked is watching us right now.
Yeah, I'm friends with Baked, you know. I don't hate the guy, and yeah, I honestly think that the whole fight between Baked and all these other guys, I think it was all blown out of proportion, as these things tend to tend to get. Um, I've been in internet fights with people before, and they just go and go and go, and this one just keeps going. I don't know.
Do you think that Baked played any role in, throwing gasoline on that fire, perhaps?
I think he did. I think definitely he did. I think everybody did. Um, and so I don't really hold any of it against anybody, including Bake, to be honest. And
Do
I
you
mean,
think that it would be a good idea for Baked to come on and try to confront some of this stuff, face to face instead of just, kind of texting Dylon and shit posting under, socks in the chat? Do you think that would be a good idea?
um, I don't know if it would be a good idea. It might be. I mean,
Why don't we move the topic to like something other than e-drama? Let's talk about like a thing.
Well, you just said you're
What
a
else
comedian,
do I
not a politician. I mean, do you want to talk? Because this definitely sounds like avoidance, but I'll ask your
Let's
opinion.
talk about the summit.
Yeah, let's talk about
when it
I
your
don't.
thoughts on the
I don't
summit.
want to get dragged into a bunch of drama and people hating me. Yeah, big shock.
just when it comes to like the Baked stuff, like me and Baked, we went through a lot of shit together. Particularly after Charlottesville.
Were you at Charlottesville?
Yeah, I was there. I was like fucking doxxed, like maybe harder than anybody in all of history. It was really bad, and like so like me and Baked, we have this strange connection because he and I went through the same shit like during Charlottesville and after, and like I was there with him like when his eyes got fucked up, and so. Like, me and Baked are friends,
Well, let me ask, because I despite what Chagget here might believe, I don't want to unfairly cast shade on the guy. Now, I think that Baked has done a lot of things that I really cannot stand, and one of them being that I think he's taken the white nationalist, the alt-right movement, whatever you want to call it, and he's used it for personal gain and enrichment, and he certainly tried to use it for a vehicle for his own brand more than for the ends for which the movement is really about. That he cares more about the BA experience's sub count than perhaps the 14 words. Do you think that there are criticisms of Baked Alaska from that direction that have validity, or do you think that he is a true believer and that he's just been caught up in a bad situation?
I think there are definitely criticisms along those lines that are fair, but at the same time, I do think that Baked Alaska, let's go back. Like when he entered that whole realm of like, white nationalists, sort of dissident right, he had like 200 followers on Twitter. He was verified. He was kind of a big deal when it comes to like social media influence. And so for him to jeopardize his social status and to elevate a lot of those ideas and bring them to a massive audience that would have otherwise just.
How big was his Twitter following that he was bringing these ideas?
It was like 200,000, which is a lot.
It wasn't like he was the only person out there at that time. There were certainly people with bigger social media presences that were saying more extreme things than Baked.
I guess. I mean, but like you look at like Richard Spencer, for instance, and like
he has 80,000.
He's got like 80,000. So like Baked was like more than double of like any of the other guys, and so for him to risk all of his social media to elevate those ideas, I think people forget what he brought. Instead, they remember what he took.
Well, I think a lot of people, and I apologize for cutting off, but I think a lot of people really, when they saw that he was doing what you're calling bringing, I think a lot of people saw that as more appropriation, right? They were familiar with Milo Yiannopoulos, and I think that they were inclined to be distrustful of Milo and to be distrustful of Baked because of their associations and the way that they handle it. Milo being a Jew and a homosexual, and in some ways misrepresenting the alt-right, and going out to this movement that was very, it was very attractive, it was very energetic. Obviously, the Trump thing was going on, the Donald, the squeaky toys, all that stuff. And some people would say that, they hopped onto, tried to hitch their wagon onto something that was becoming popular, that was doing, very well. and they were afraid of what that would in full entail. Do you think that that's? I mean, do you think that that's accurate to say that he kind of hitched his wagon onto a rising thing?
I mean, I think a lot of people did that, and I think a lot of people did that. You know, a lot of people with influence definitely jumped on the pre-Charlottesville. I think a lot of people with influence definitely jumped on the natural progression towards nationalism that was taking place and still is taking place. I think people like Milo, obviously, I think he's a really good example of somebody that was a leech, like just straight up, like he was leeching. But I mean, Milo as well, he was very helpful in bringing a lot of our ideas, you know, into the mainstream. As gay and as Jew and as all of it that he is. And I hate the guy. I think he sucks. He did bring a lot to the table for us in the initial sort of growth of the movement.
He gave the alt-right a fair hearing, I would say.
Yeah,
he normalized it.
I would say he appropriated the work of better people and tried to make it sound like it was his own. He tried to create a brand off a movement that he wasn't a part of.
Yeah, well, I mean, he definitely broke off and he disavowed it, and then he tried to take the energy from that movement and then, you know, basically like veer it in an opposite direction. So like,
he certainly didn't give credit to a lot of people in the movement who were out there actually doing the grunt work, doing the stuff. He saw that it was a hot brand and he attached himself to it and he tried to monetize it. And I don't think it's just, I mean, obviously the white nationalism and the politics bother me because I don't like people who I perceive to be, you know, fake people just in it for a buck, in it to exploit it. But I think a great example of why a lot of people, specifically with the context of the latest Baked Alaska meltdown, were pissed off is they thought that Baked was doing what he had done with the alt-right to internet blood sports. And of course, many of them, those people being alt-right who had experienced this already, you know, Baked Alaska had a shirt for sale in his store, Internet Blood Sports. He didn't create Internet Blood Sports. He was not really even, I don't even think he was, out of three, I think he was 3, possibly 4, you know, in terms of quality. And yet he's out there selling a shirt that says Internet Blood Sports because it was something someone else made, but it was popular and he wanted to make a buck off it, damn it. Is it wrong to be mad at somebody doing that?
I mean, yeah, I think in that particular case, I think there's definitely room for critique there. But in regards to his involvement with the alt-right, I honestly believe, and I have somewhat of a more personal perspective on the situation, just because like he and I are friends, and we went to Charlottesville, and a lot of bad shit happened together. I honestly believe that his involvement with the alt-right and with nationalism is or was genuine, and I don't think that he was. I don't think that he jeopardized his massive social media following for a fringe political movement that is, you know, social suicide. I mean, he lost his YouTube, he lost his Twitter. Well, he still has his YouTube, but, you know, he's lost a lot. Like, you look at Baked Alaska 2 years ago, and he had it all. He was on top of the world, and now he seems to have lost, you know, all of that he built. And, you know, I think that he may have been using it as a springboard for himself in certain ways, but really the alt-right used him as a springboard.
Oh, that's bullshit.
In many ways.
That's fucking bullshit. Hey, what did he? No. What did the alt-right benefit? The alt-right, all they got was a watered down Are the Donald version of real important ideas and memes that far smarter people had created, and he perhaps put them out to a few Twitter followers. Well, there were a lot of people on Twitter. He was not the biggest. He was not even the best.
Hey, well, can we please talk about something other than Baked Alaska?
Right,
This
I'm
is
gonna talk about something
this
right
is
now.
getting to a really gay. I mean, come on, just talk about Baked Alaska. This is becoming a really gay obsession, dude. Like, are you sure you're not gay for Baked Alaska?
Shut up, Chagget.
Hey, Joaquin, I got a note from the chat.
What's up?
It's regarding Chagget. About 4 minutes ago, chat caught him eat his own booger on fucking stream. Yeah, so chat wanted me to point that out.
Let's talk about that.
And what in particular?
Sounds like great content. Yeah, hey, I'm sure. Are we losing viewers right now? Like they must be dropping. Like
worry about your own metrics, man. Yeah, we do our stuff, and I think we're doing just fine with that. We're taking advice from the public relations director over here.
Chat wanted me to tell you, and
no, it didn't. No, rewind the tape because you didn't.
Press one in the chat.
I think I went.
No,
of course they're gonna press one if you do that. But I think I went like this, and then I don't know.
I don't know. That's not what I was told. I'm just relying.
All right, I don't really give a fuck. Let's talk about something.
Just wanted us to know that you're the human resources director for the Booger Republic.
Yeah. Someone wanted to know if you sprinkle boogers on your meth, but I think it's a pretty fucked question to ask.
Oh my god. Anyway, we were talking about important big political philosophical stuff. So so the alt-right and the e-celebs who come off it. This is because I in some ways I'm very sympathetic to some of the stuff that Baked has had to deal with, right? Like I came at it from certainly a far different angle. I was never a BuzzFeed employee, and I've been with the movement for a while, and in many ways toiling in a lot of obscurity. And that's I never really went out and be like, oh, I was just big e-celeb bullshit. But like when you're thrust into the spotlight and you have a character to defend, you have your reputation and what you're doing and your channel and stuff. Like I get that he didn't want to catch a whole lot of stuff, and certainly we do things here on air to not get a strike, right? You have to deal with kind of the rules of it. We try not to get kicked off Twitter because we understand that staying on the platform is important to being able to spread the message. But do you feel like that's why Baked called his chat toxic, or do you think it was something a little bit more personal with how he felt about what was being said?
I think.
Why are we still talking about Baked Alaska, dude? Do
So
you have a gay
people give a
obsession?
fuck about
No, fuck you.
Shut up, you fucking
Why?
faggot.
If he's so irrelevant, why are we talking about him?
All right, he asked me a question. Shut the fuck up, you retard.
Press one
Shut
if you
up.
don't want to hear any more
You're
about
retarded.
Baked Alaska. I'll talk as much as I fucking want, dude. Fuck you.
I swear to God, I will drive down there and slap you. Shut up.
No. Press one in the chat if you're tired of hearing about Baked fucking Alaska.
Press 1488 if you want us to keep going.
I only see one person actually even in the chat, so that didn't work.
I completely forgot the question.
Oh, hey, we found Baked Alaska's alt-right.
I bet I can give you the question. So do you think Baked Alaska, is it fair to say that he kind of used the alt-right for his own purposes and used the channel?
I was asking about the toxic comment, which was a very important watershed moment.
Yeah, so I think the reason that he said that is because after Charlottesville, the whole world look at what they did to Roseanne, right? So Roseanne says she has one tweet, and then the whole world, like 53 million people, are just attacking her family. Look at what happened with Amy Meck, right? Amy Meck was revealed. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, tell the story again, because I've heard like the bits and pieces, but I don't have it from the source. Can you give that to me real quick on the Amy Meck story?
Yeah, well, Amy Meck I think she was doxxed by a reporter, and as a result, there were millions of just ridiculous leftists and Democrats and like soccer moms just telling her to kill herself. Her unrelated family members had businesses; they were all doxxed, and I think they're shutting down now. Her husband worked for WWE, and he lost his job, and so. What happens like in this modern age of mass social justice flash mobs, you could be subject to 53 million people going after you, your family, your mom, their businesses, your sisters, all of it. And that's what happened to him. Like what just happened to Roseanne happened to Baked Alaska after Charlottesville. And he basically lost everything. He got kicked off Twitter. His family was receiving death threats. Their businesses were receiving all sorts of ridiculous harassment, et cetera, et cetera. And so he was in a really dark place. And keep in mind, all of this shit happened to me too. And for Baked Alaska, since he was so popular, it just kept going. Like there were millions of people going after Baked Alaska. His family. His family's businesses over and over and over again. And
was it the left or the right going after him?
It was the left. It was completely 100%. And not even just, it wasn't Antifa. We're talking about like soccer moms with a Twitter account. Like we're talking about normal people that read a CNN article with Baked Alaska's picture on it. and then they fucking find his mom's business and send her a death threat. Like, we're talking about normal people. We're talking about millions of normal people. And so Baked Alaska was at the receiving end of this ridiculous, crazy world of mass doxing that is led by publications like CNN and MSNBC and all of that. And so Baked Alaska was at the receiving end of all of that for months and months and months. He was destroyed by it. And so he wanted to separate himself from all of that. He you know, obviously you take one look at the guy and he's not an evil Nazi. And so he's trying to separate himself from that. He's trying to say, hey, look, I'm not evil.
Quick, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to interject something here, because he had been doing pretty well with the Bloodsports. He had been getting some pretty big names. He was able to set up like the Jared Taylor, Tariq Nasheed one, which was, you know, one of the classics.
I helped him set that up, by the way.
Oh, that's neat. So
that was awesome.
Yeah, it was a cool stream. But like at that, you know, that chat, you know, I've been in that chat. I've seen him read the super chats, this and that. And there was clearly something that was between, you know, like the earlier Baked Alaska Bloodsport stuff, and then obviously that meltdown stream. I mean, what do you think that was? Or do you see what I'm talking about? That there was a difference? Why do you think that is? And do you think it's a common like thing, like a larger trend than just one person?
Well, you know, I don't know. I mean, I honestly think that Baked Alaska was a target by millions of psychotic leftists, and his family in particular were being targeted, their businesses. I think that he just wanted to separate himself from it. And in trying to do that, I think a lot of the Spurgs, they just didn't want any of it. They were like, oh, you're a traitor. You hate us, you know, Nazi, you don't like Nazis or whatever. And I think people, you know, they saw that as like being a traitor or something.
Well, okay, let me. So, I think that you're kind of including me in that generalization, because I certainly, you know, was one of the people that was, you know, not saying very nice things about him. And I don't know if I used the word traitor, but, you know, kind of in that general thing. But it's like, you know, people were making super chats for 1488. Or having him say, you know, some pretty hardcore stuff, and then to have him go from that to he's hanging out with, you know, Chaggett and Aaron and calling the chat toxic, you know, and people see him, people saw that, you know, the people, because it was not outsiders, it was insiders that turned on him. It was people that were moderators in his Discord and people that were moderators on his YouTube channel that were leading the charge against him. So
I think a lot of these guys, I think they see when, you know, with all of that, I think they see a traitor. What I see somebody who is trying to salvage, you know, something out of the destruction that took place after Charlottesville. I see somebody that's trying to like pick his life back up and try to do something beyond yelling 1488 in front of the camera over and over again. And I think
wasn't he doing something good that kind of blew up? Like, because the Bloodsports thing, at least from my perspective, we, you know, I'm not lying.
That was good.
We came into it as well, right? Because it started out on Tonka Saw's Morning Kumite. And Tonka is a good guy, but he's really not overtly political, you know? And as Worski adopted the format and then Baked saw the success of that and decided to emulate it, you know, it very much became an opening for the right to kind of, you know, it was a very popular avenue. A lot of people got dragged in by the Sargon Spencer stream on Worski, you know, and they decided that, hey, I want to get it on this too. You know, we had a thing called Backyard Bloodsports, which we started after a Baked Alaska Bloodsport stream, where we thought it was just being unsatisfactorily managed, but we were also like, you know, we can bring in a more authentic argument than some of these people. You know, this polished slickness is basically, you know, it's sacrificing the authenticity and the strength of the arguments. So like that was going very well. And I mean, obviously Bloodsports is kind of, you know, it's if it's still around, it's different at this point. But I mean, God, it really feels like there's a, you know, trade your passion for glory sort of thing, where he tried to trade the social capital and the social media capital he had built off of what he was doing with Bloodsports. You know, he goes to LA and he gets in with guys like Chaggett and he tries to get, you know, his, what do you want to call it? his agent, right? His agent's giving him like broken MacBooks and shit, broken iPads. It kind of seems like there was a change, like LA changed what Baked was about there. When he was in Alaska, he was doing a lot of different streams than when he was in California.
Well, Baked lived in LA for like 5 years, 6, 7 years before. After Charlottesville, he moved back to Alaska for like 5 months, and then when he got felt a little bit better, he moved back to LA. So I think that's another misconception. A lot of people are like, oh, he lived in LA his whole life. Or I mean Alaska, but no, he was in LA for like 7 or 8 years, or a long time. So it's not like he went to LA and all of a sudden he was like changed.
Well, people on the outside certainly saw it as a dramatic, it was because it seemed to be a relatively rapid shift. Yeah,
for sure. I think he was honestly trying to take his life in a different direction, and I mean, judging on everything that he went through, I don't necessarily see that as such a bad thing. Maybe the way he went about it, was a mistake. And I think, first of all, he alienates the alt-right audience when he entered the alt-right. And then when he tries to exit the dissident right, he alienates all of those guys. So now he's sort of left with no audience at all. And so I think he mismanaged that a little bit. But I don't blame him for wanting to sort of, leave the dissident right. Like, he lost all of his social media, he lost a lot of his friends, he lost family, and a lot of that, it's the same story for a lot of guys.
I can't imagine he's doing too well right now, and personally, I hope he's doing all right. I hope he's sleeping with a roof over his head and he can afford to pay rent. Like, I'm not hoping the guy dies in a gutter or anything like that, but I mean, just I guess from where I'm at, I feel like if Baked had said, look, I was at Charlottesville, I was supportive of some very extreme elements of, the nationalist movement, and my personal philosophy has changed. I no longer endorse the, let's say, counter-Semitism, for example, or whatever you want to out of it. And I'm going to, return to a more moderate position because I think that more accurately represents what I'm about. I don't think people would have taken it so badly, because that would have been an honest evolution on a position. I feel like a lot of people were just very upset because it seemed to be dishonest, right? That it wasn't like, oh, I've changed. It's just, guys, you can't do that anymore. It's toxic.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I think if he was a bit more articulate, he would have been able to do something like that. But I also think that maybe he was trying to help a lot of the Spurgs out, because, really, like, the dissident right has an issue with Spurgs that they kind of they hijack a lot of things, and sometimes they ruin things for people, which we've seen a few times.
I mean, I've had to deal with that personally. Look, I believe I get that there's the purity spiral is very real.
Oh, yeah, big time.
But I don't think that I agree that it goes too far in many situations, but I don't think the idea that there should be some sort of internal consistency or purity is necessarily a bad thing. I do think you get a lot of people that take it way too fucking far, like the guys that, oh, let's just dox the shit out of Baked Alaska and ruin his life. Of course, I'm not going to go out there, but although, maybe if the police had come and helped out that night, he might have been a little bit better career-wise. Not that I would wish that upon anybody, but,
Don't you know anybody like semi-famous we could get on here to like spice things? How about getting Millennial Woes on? That would be awesome.
Are you such a faggot?
What the fuck?
Why do you keep telling
Nobody
me
wants to keep hearing about rehashing Baked Alaska drama from a stream from a month and a half
literally
ago.
why
God, you're
everybody
beating
is
a
here.
dead horse. Wait, it doesn't even say that in the title. You're beating a dead horse. Like, the horse is dead. Move on. Enough.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something substantive. This is just bullshit e-drama. No one cares.
Yeah.
Welcome
so I
to
just
the internet. People care about bullshit heat drama.
right.
No, people like interesting
I
content.
God.
People care about interesting content.
This is very interesting content because we're like you see this as
Oh,
through the lens
yeah.
of your friend. Me and Matt are having a very substantive conversation about what he did and how what it means in a larger context than just your
The conversation is already
time because he did stupid stuff.
It's already been had a million times over
is
and over.
Dylan mad that the attention is not all on him? Oh, it's so cute.
Kind of.
Oh, hang on. I do actually. There is an e-celeb that I want to have on. Late Night with Broski. I see you're in the chat. I'm forcing you to come on. You have no choice. I'll be sending you the link in just a minute. This guy, he's awesome. He's one of the top up and coming stars on YouTube. I think PewDiePie put out a video endorsing him just last week.
Nice.
Give me just a second here. Let me send him the link.
Yeah, I think regardless of all of the shit that went down, I think these fights happen. We've seen it countless times between various internet celebrities and so on. And I honestly think that everybody's got to move past their shit and learn to find some common ground, because we all fit into the right somewhere, whether you're Baked Alaska or fucking some other crazy guy, and I just think everybody has their place, and everybody has something that they can bring to the table. So I think really, we all just got to kind of figure that out. And if we need to have these fights, I think we should be having these fights behind closed doors. Away from the public.
Part of what people want, though, is they like to see that. They like to,
they do.
Blood, right?
Everybody loves a dumpster fire. I get it.
If I can't go after people just because they're on the right, that leaves a whole lot. Like, I'm gonna go after a guy like Charles Krauthammer. I'm gonna go after give me literally name fucking right winger Ben Shapiro. I'm gonna go after somebody who doesn't have opinions that are, in my opinion, far enough to the right. Especially if I perceive them to be hiding it because they're hiding the truth because they think it benefits them socially. I think that's fucking garbage.
I agree with
like Steven Crowder.
That motherfucker. No, I saw him execute a whole black family live on stream once. I do not want to mess with Steven Crowder. That guy's entire, his back is just a patchwork of swastika tattoos, right?
Oh, it is. It's totally.
Yeah, he's like totally excellent. 1488.
Now the meme is dead. Joining us. Oh wow, we've got a really celeb here. How are you doing tonight, Mr. Broski?
Well,
I took a second from hanging out with PewDiePie to come see you guys. So I'd give you a chance to have a real star on the show. I'm just kidding.
I got Broski's name tatted on my forehead. He's that big of an e-celeb.
I am. It only cost him $10,000 too for me to let him do that.
Yeah, I have to pay royalties once a month though.
Yeah, well,
sexual favors don't count as royalties.
Look, we'll talk about that after we're off the air.
All right. I guess I can wait. Sorry.
I don't need my business put out on the internet.
Well, now, Broski, you're relatively apolitical. I mean, obviously, we've talked politics before, and I know that you do have an interest in it. But that's not something that you really make your wheelhouse super hard if you're doing your streams. But certainly, you exist kind of in this atmosphere where there's obviously a lot of discussion about a lot of characters. You've got no issue having me on your stream, and I'm politically. What do you feel like about the interaction between politics and specifically YouTube streaming and the whole cult of e-celebrity?
YouTube is actually one of the only places where I don't mind politics getting into my entertainment because I can seek it out if that's what I want to watch. Where it bothers me, it's like video games and movies to a certain extent, even though I don't have the attention span to watch a movie anymore. But on YouTube, I think it's fine. I think it's a great place to go if you want to get information you won't necessarily get on the mainstream, in the mainstream media. I think it's fine. I think YouTube is one of the best places to do that because if you want that type of content, you can go and get it. It's when they shoehorn it in where I feel it doesn't have any business to be that it gets to me. That's what bothers me.
Guys, I got to get going, but I've got a bunch of people watching on this other channel, and I'm going to try to shoot them over to your channel as I leave. So thanks for having me on.
We appreciate that, man. Yeah, anytime. I know that we've talked a few times in the past, and sometimes you were blackout drunk, but you seem relatively sober now. So I'd love to talk with you in the future. I know that we've got your contact information, so I'll hit you up. If you ever want me on your show or you want to come on, just say the word.
Oh, yeah. No, I appreciate it, man. We'll keep in touch.
Okay, sounds good. Have a good night. Thanks for everything.
All right. Later, guys.